I just finished watching Scream 4. I'm over halfway going through my rewatching of the Scream movies for the first time, a second time, or whatever, however I'm phrasing it, with it, my second time through watching the Scream movies. So, with Scream 4, this one, I remember liking this, but there was something about it that had me questioning it a little bit. And rewatching it again, I do have that feeling as well. I wasn't sure if it would be cleared up a little bit more the second time around, but I'll get right into it. So Jill and Charlie being the killers. I think that that is fine technically. I mean, the type of person that Charlie seems to be, was super into movies and stuff, and he's in Woodsboro, and they're living a generation where they're all about reboots and stuff. That isn't too far fetched, and he's friends with somebody that is related to Sidney Prescott, who's super, like, just not only the real life events, but also all the stab movies that are in their franchises and stuff. Like, there's a lot that already can kind of give him motivation in that type of way. And then her cousin, Jill, of whom was never mentioned to this point, her mother, her aunt, Sydney's aunt, I don't think was ever mentioned either. So I'm not sure exactly how I feel about them being in the film. I mean, it's like it's family, so that makes it a connection, but it doesn't really hit as hard watching it through. I mean, I think it's fine that they had that be the case, but it doesn't seem to me as strong as some of the others. But in Scream 2, having Billy Loomis's mother and Mickey being the killers was a little bit of a stretch as well to me. I mean, they still work. I'm not saying that they do not work. I'm just saying compared to like Scream 1 and Scream 3, they are a notch down, I think. But what is interesting, I guess, with Jill, what makes her motivations work for wanting to kill Sydney and stuff and wanting to do all this stuff, it's not even about wanting to kill Sydney. It's literally not about that. By the end, when it's revealed that's her and it's all clear, and I mean, throughout the movie, you get this kind of gist, and the opening, the very opening thing where they're showing the stab movies. They showed stab 6 and 7 and whatnot, the opening kills and whatnot. There's a sense of desensitization. There's a sense of just like there's so many apps. There's nobody believes whatever is going on half the time, especially since there's so many movies and stuff. The reality gets a little bit mixed with the. Nope, I'm not going to get off track. Getting back on track, Jill wants to be famous. She was totally fine with having her own mother get killed in the story, has zero remorse, totally fine with killing off all of her friends if she can, and killing off Charlie and everything too, killing off Sydney, doesn't care. She is more interested in getting followers and fans and being noticed on the internet and everything. And that is a motivation that I think makes enough sense of the time. And I think this was even back like 10 years ago from today. I forget the year that Scream 4 came out, but that was a little while ago. And even at that time, this is kind of the case, though, starting to be a thing. Twitter was a thing, but now we'd call it X, of course. But yeah, I mean, nowadays, there is a sense where a lot of people get a lot of enjoyment or feeling out of having a lot of fans or people liking their tweets or what they say, whatever they post on the internet, having them see what you're seeing, and they like the interactions. That's what they want. Some of them are so into that they prefer their digital world compared to the people around them that are in their lives. They have more attachment to that than they do to the people around them. So I can see the Jill motivation making some sense. It's just I feel like there should have maybe been one or two tweaks to make it feel a little bit stronger when you get to the end. But other than that, I guess the next concern is sort of like when they're in the hospital and she's already like damaged herself a bit. I mean, even though, yeah, she inflicted her own wounds, but she still inflicted herself real wounds. But she seems to be really strong. And so does Charlie in a way. And even though he's like a skinny white dude, I don't know, he's got to lift bodies up. He's got to move things around. I mean, I don't know. There's just some parts in the film where I'm like, are these really the killers? Like, not sure when it comes to that. It's not as believable as it could be if they were like a little bit bigger in shape, or just small things that would tweak it. But all the complaints I have at the moment, I still think this is a really good film. I still think that it's really good, and especially for it being a fourth film. The Scream trilogy was complete as it was. It did not need to have another film after it, but considering it did, like, they went ahead making Scream 4, they are completely aware that this is, like, the trend of slasher movies and horror genre in general. They're with most movies having remakes of some kind, reboots, whatever. This is a thing that just seems to happen all the freaking time. They were fully aware of that when making Scream 4. And I think that they did it well, especially using the meta, like as Scream tends to do, using what we know about it, using the stab films in their own universe. They use that to their advantage to make it seem pretty good. So one might not think that the beginning of Scream 4 is very good because it starts with the stab openings where it's people commenting on the stab films and having their commentary, and it's just gore porn and it's just whatever. And they're talking about these different, they're doing their commentary, and then, oh, but there's a twist in the thing. And then, oh, now that was a fake out opening. Here's the real opening. And they do that. Basically, it's 2 times, but the 3rd time is the real time. I'm glad that they had Dewey and Gail start out already married, and they've been married for 10 years instead of having it be where they've broken up again and they have some type of issue like that. This time, the drama that they have, or the tension that they have between each other, is more there are killings again in Woodsboro, and they were involved in the last 3, and Dewey is now the sheriff. I think that's good as well for his character, especially. He's the sheriff of the town, looking after it as best he can. Gail is not a reporter anymore. She is a housewife, I'm assuming. She is getting a little bored of it, though. She wants to have some action, some thrill. That is who she is. She likes to be in that type of light. But when the cases start coming up again, he wants her out of it, and she wants to do the investigating. And it could seem like, oh, he doesn't want her around. She's like, yeah, we were partners when we did this before, is you and me doing it together. It doesn't, I'm not sure what people got from it, like if they thought that he is like being a little stubborn, not working with her, but he wants his wife to be safe. Like there's another murderer around, and he is the sheriff, and he's got a lot of other things on his mind to be trying to do this, and he doesn't want to have his wife be in danger. That's how I was kind of seeing it. And but she's not one to sit down on her hands and do it. So she's going to take whatever she can and do it solo. And that's kind of what happens. I mean, maybe if they worked together, she wouldn't have gotten injured herself when going to that party thing. Maybe it would have been a little bit different. I love how Sydney has used her problems and gotten over the issues and has used that to move her forward. Has, instead of making that the reason why she hides herself from life, she has embraced life and does want to try to help other people as well. She wants to stop being the victim. Something that I think a lot of people these days could try to learn and not be a victim. That would be great. But yeah, I do like how Sydney's character progressed quite nicely. She's got a gun on her. She's got a taser. I don't think she took any self-defense classes really based on what I saw, but she does seem ready to throw down and not give up if she gets grabbed or anything. She's going to kick, punch, throw, whatever, and try to subvert and get them to. So I like that about her. They kept that good. They kept the characters really good for continuing them. They didn't just throw them away, shit on them or anything. And as she even says a line in the movie, don't fuck with the original. That was probably a really reassuring line to have by the end of the film. You've got one thing about reboots, don't fuck with the original. That is a sentiment that many of us freaking feel. And that's one of the reasons why I think that this film does a pretty good job in what it accomplishes. As this type of film that is sort of a reboot, trying to go back to the roots a bit and whatnot, that makes enough sense. That works. And I thought that it was paced pretty well. I'm glad that Jill, at least, when she's doing her plan, she, does a couple of smart things to make it look like she put up a fight, having the boyfriend, scratch her cheek, and she does, try to run into the wall. So it looks like she got stabbed pretty good. So it seems like it could have been a mostly believable story, though I would still think there'd be enough evidence when people examine the bodies and where they're placed and everything that there was something else that happened there and that they could have been placed. I'm not sure if they would have come to the conclusion that it was Jill the whole time, but maybe they could have, but I'm not sure. There was one line that's coming to my mind now. As I'm trying to wrap up here, but there is a line that came to my mind that I did like as well, where Dewey, it was just like a passing comment where Dewey's like, the last generation's problems or troubles or issues, I forgot what he said, is the next generation's joke. All the troubles and whatnot that the previous generation went through, all the hardships, is just, not felt at all by the next generation. They don't really care. They're so detached from it. They don't give a shit. And that does feel true. That is kind of how it is right now in the present day. Anybody that's been into a war of some kind, and like they know a feeling compared to people that haven't. Like I myself have not been, and I've not even been in a fight. Like I don't know. There's a different experience you get when somebody goes through something totally awful and tragic. So yeah, I can feel a Dewey sentiment there. And speaking of Dewey, I'm trying to remember now. Okay, yeah, the cop sidekick chick that survives this one. I like her addition to the cast. I did not for once think that she was going to be the killer, even my first time around watching Scream 4. But I'm glad that she was in there as kind of a potential for that, because she's like, "You don't remember me, do you? Yeah, we used to go to high school together." And it's like, oh shit, we got a connection going on here. Is she potentially a cuckoo loony bird? But no, she's just like, she fawns over Dewey, even though he's married. She makes him little lemon squares, and that's adorable. I feel like they rounded it out well enough, considering it was a reboot once again. They didn't try to like poke too many nostalgia berries or anything. They didn't just totally try to poke at that. Go, you remember this thing? You remember that thing? Do you remember this and that? Blah, 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 blah. No, they didn't. They kept it pretty chill compared to a lot of other things these days that really, really dangle those keys in front of you. I feel like this one took their time with it. It felt like they really wanted this to stick with you, that they wanted to have it hit you with some passion with the films. And even though it's the fourth film, even though it was pretty much set and locked as a trilogy, there's still something else that you can get out of it. There's still a story that can be told. And I think that the story that they went with for Scream 4 is fine. Again, my issue is just down to the execution of it, and I think there could have just been a few tweaks to make that a little bit more believable. There's some scenes where, like they stab the cops. It's like, I don't know, when you see the killers and then it's like revealed who it is, it's like, are you sure they're the ones that could have done this? Like even in Scream 2, when it was when it was Billy's mom, it's like, I mean, I guess I can see this crazy old lady being strong enough to do stuff, but when you realize it was Mickey, well, yeah, he seems like, yeah, he's big enough to do all this stuff and kill people, crazy enough. Yeah, he seems like he could do that for sure. So there's just like the small notches for me for Scream 4, but if it's ranked below Scream 1, 2, and 3, it is just barely below them. It is just, just bumped enough. Like if I were to put, 10 is perfect. I don't think I'll ever put a film at 10, honestly. I feel like Scream 1, 2, and 3, for their own reasons, though, are pretty much 9s to me. They're pretty much 9s. So I would put Scream 4 at like an 8. There's just enough issues that I have that bump it down to that, but that's still a really good score to me. That's a recommended type of movie. I still enjoyed it, and I want to know what you guys think about it as well. I enjoyed it more my second time around than my first time. And yeah, I'm curious what you guys think, and I'll see you on the 5th one, which is the pretty much worst one of the series that I remember. So, yay.